Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 83 of Mirrorless Minutes. It's just me tonight. So run into a situation where Mike has some things going on and hold on here. I've got myself broadcasting on YouTube and I'm hearing myself. Okay, sorry, that's kind of a confusing thing for me to even try to explain. Let me start over here. When it's a one-man show, apparently I can't run the controls like I thought I could. So anyways, it's just me tonight. Mike has some family things going on that are preventing him from coming here. Just know that he really wants to be here. I've had a little bit of chat going on with him on and off over the last couple of hours, and he's pretty stressed out. He can't be here. Just want you guys to know that you're in good hands tonight. I think you're in good hands. I'll try not to derail the train here too much. So kind of weird to not have this back and forth dialogue going for 30 minutes. So I'm hoping I can run off at the mouth enough. I know if you talk to my wife, she'd tell you, oh, yeah, you can definitely talk for a half hour all by yourself with no problem. So let me just kind of get rolling on this. Let me just start off with something that Mike and I wanted to talk about because we're so close to the holidays. And I know it's really short notice to give any sort of gift ideas, but I just want to throw a couple of things out there that I think make kind of cool gift ideas, and they cover all different price ranges. And then I'll have links, of course, affiliate links through Amazon, little clarity there, so that you know that that the links that we do provide are usually affiliate links, and then any kind of income that we generate from those tends to go back into helping to pay for like hosting and things like that for the domain name and for the SoundCloud, for the RSS feed, for the podcast and all that jazz. But when Mike and I do offer an affiliate link to Amazon, just know that it doesn't cost you any more. The prices are exactly the same. It's just that Mike and I make a few cents on the dollar for when you guys do make those purchases. So I figured it might be something that I should probably talk about, at least occasionally, let you guys know that we do affiliate programs here. So with that said, let me start talking about a few Christmas ideas. And we'll start off with like the cheapest Christmas idea that I could come up with that I think matters. And I don't think I have enough of these things. And they're really cheap. Microfiber cloths. Now, I can't give you a link to where to get these really cool Mzuiko Pro microfiber cloths that I have. If you would come to some of my workshops, you might get some of those. I know that my last workshop that I did, everybody got some of these and a few other goodies, but you can get them on Amazon. There's all different sizes of them. I recommend these, and I actually have a link to the exact same size. These are 12-inch by 12-inch. They're big. I mean, I've literally used them to wrap up lenses. I've used them to wrap up filters. I've wiped my face off with them when it's raining. Last workshop I was doing. And, you can get a 6-pack of them on Amazon for like $9. And like I said, because they're so big, they're multifaceted as far as their use goes. I don't use them just to clean off lenses, obviously. So really cheap, really easy to do. And Mike Timko is asking if you can purchase the 12 by 12 at Olympus. I have not seen that one on there. I guess I could swing over and take a look at some point in time. And if it is available on the Olympus website, I'll add it to the show notes. So, or by the time I get around to doing that, you probably could have swung over to Get Olympus and checked it out in the gear shop. So that's idea number one. Super cheap, less than $10. You get 6 of them, and they're indispensable. The next gift, the prices are going to vary just depending on where you go. I don't have a link to any place in particular. It's just the idea. And that is, you could get somebody the gift of business cards. I know you're like, what? This is the digital age. Like, who does business cards? I do. I know a lot of photographers that still do business cards. I get a box of these every year from Olympus, and by the end of the year, I've given out most of my cards, if not all of them, on some years. So people like to get a business card from somebody. I think it's a little more personal than just saying, hey, I'll shoot you an email. You give somebody your contact information. Whenever I do a workshop or any kind of event or talk, or if I meet somebody that I've never met before, the first thing I do is I try to get out a card and say, hey, this is your way to reach out to me whenever you want. Just go ahead and get a hold of me. You don't necessarily have to tell people to get a hold of you like I do all the time, but it's just a cool thing to keep you in front of somebody else, to keep you on somebody's mind. It's a reminder, basically. I actually got an email this week from somebody who I gave a card to about a year ago, and they said they were going through and cleaning out their wallet and found my card and just wanted to email me to tell me that, hey, I still have your card. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'm going to mail you a new card. And I don't even know if they watch the show or not, but they're going to get a new card at some point from me. So business cards, you can go to Moo, you can go to Vistaprint, go to your local printer. If you have a local printer, go there. I'm going to say that first and foremost here. Shop local, folks. If you can shop local, shop local. Don't use my affiliate links if you've got a local source for things, okay? Next gift, not quite as cheap, but still under the $100 limit. Yep, Seth Dimestra is in the chat, and he says, Moo, and I agree. My personal cards that I run off myself, I always go with Moo. The quality is just phenomenal. The ones that Olympus gets us, I think they source them local. I hope they source them local because I know a printer in Center Valley or the Lehigh Valley area that does printing, so might have to talk to them. So the next gift, another one of those things that if you've ever shot with me, you'll have seen this attached to my bag. It goes with me no matter what bag I'm carrying for the most part. And that's a flashlight, a good flashlight. Don't get a crap flashlight. You can get crap flashlights all day long. Those are great. Get crap flashlights and give them to your kids. Give them to people who you don't care if they have good light or not. Get a good flashlight. So this is made by a company called LED Lenser. And I think this one's like about 70 or 80 bucks. It doesn't have like a crazy 1,000 lumen output like some of the flashlights do, but then again, it's small. The ones that have the outrageous lumen output tend to be quite a bit bigger. This one, I don't have like monster hands, so gives you, an idea. This really isn't that big of a flashlight. I think this puts out like about 400 lumens or so, and it has two different settings for brightness. You've got bright, and then you've got a little bit not quite so bright. Runs on AAA batteries. They just go in this little, it's like a holder for batteries, basically. And I'll just open it up and show you guys what it looks like. And because it's LED, lasts forever. Because it's LED, if you drop it, there's not a filament that's going to break. It's nice, white, bright light. There's not an IP rating on this because I know I'll get asked by somebody, probably Bob, because Bob is a very technical guy, likes to ask these questions. Bob Panic, I'm talking about you. There's no like IP67 or anything like that. It's actually an IPX rating of 4. I didn't do the research on what the difference between IPX and like the IP numeric ratings are, but this basically is splash proof. Don't drop it in the water and let it go underwater. It's not sealed against pressure, but 70 bucks, it's worth it. Trust me. Like I said, if you've ever shot with me out in the middle of nowhere at night, and there's a few of you probably in this group somewhere that have, you've probably seen this light turned on, and it's a stunner. It actually shows up in some of my night shots as well. I use it to make those big beams that light up the sky in the self-portraits that I do. So yeah, under 100 bucks, getting close to it though, probably around the $70 range. The next two things that I'm going to suggest, we're jumping from the sub 100 into the multi-hundreds of dollars, like immediately, but it's worth it. And I can't show a photo of it necessarily here, but a workshop. If you have a photographer in your life or somebody who's getting into photography, buy them a workshop. Or if you're buying yourself a Christmas gift, buy them a workshop. I'm not just talking about like something that I'm putting on or something that I participate in like out of Chicago, although out of Chicago is definitely a workshop that should be on your list. It's not really a workshop. It's like a whole bunch of them, a conference, I guess. But find a workshop that caters to the things that you like to shoot. And even if you're a very competent shooter, go on a workshop anyways. I think I find that the people that attend workshops that are at a high, that are at a high skill level, I think still take away a lot from the workshops. Maybe not necessarily in like a ton of new information. I mean, everybody gathers some new information at a workshop, but just spending, and Mike says this constantly, and I will reiterate it, you're around like-minded people for a day or 2 days or 3, depending on how long the workshop runs. You're with people who love to do what you do, and there's nothing better than going out shooting. And I'm not bad-mouthing my wife. I'm not bad-mouthing anybody's spouse or partner or friend or family or anything, but you're not around people that will eventually get tired of you wanting to shoot. You're around people that just want to shoot sun up to sundown. So I think that a workshop is probably one of the best investments that you could possibly give a photographer or give yourself. You know, if you're giving yourself a gift and you want to get the most bang for your buck, you know, you're not just getting an education out of it potentially, you're getting a memory too, and you're getting to create friendships potentially as well. So a workshop is a big one. And I guess the last like high dollar gift idea that I have, and I had an inquiry about this earlier, and that's a camera. And I have to talk about this camera because for one thing, there's several reasons, but for one thing, I just got my hands on this like a little over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and been shooting a lot with it lately. It actually is the only thing that's been going with me back and forth on my commute to work every day. I always make sure I have a camera every day. And the camera that's in this bag is, pull it out here. It's the EM10 Mark III. Now, why would I suggest an entry-level camera? What's the reason that I'm so like hyped up about this camera? Well, I did a little YouTube video, and if you're not following me on YouTube, just take a minute and find me on YouTube and subscribe, and you'll see the video that I did talking about this. And I keep saying over and over again in the video, and then I did a Between the Minutes episode where I kept calling this the best first camera. And what I mean by that is that for somebody who's getting away from a point and shoot or getting away from a cell phone and wanting something that they can detach lenses and reattach, you know, an interchangeable lens camera, this makes it easy. And the reason that this makes it so easy is because, let me turn the rear display on here. The way the menu system works on this, if you're a new shooter, you're going to want to switch over to scene modes, and you get like a pictorial reference, I guess, of different types of scenes. And then you select the scene that you want to shoot. So if you're going to shoot a nightscape, you just double tap on nightscapes and it brings up the nightscapes menu. And then you've got a whole selection of modes to shoot in. You know, you've got just a basic nightscape, and it gives you a description of what it's going to do. And it even suggests that you use a tripod for this mode because it's going to be doing longer exposures. And, you know, you've got like a portrait plus nightscape, which is, and I've got a couple of shots with this that actually turn out really good. What this does, it does like a longer exposure and then does like a, what would you call it? Like a rear curtain flash. It basically uses the built-in flash to fill in your subject. So if you've got a portrait you want to shoot of somebody with a night skyline behind them, I mean, this camera will basically do this stuff for you. You just select the mode you want to shoot, just follow the directions that are right there on the screen, and it makes it so easy. So like I said, best first camera for sure. If you get somebody a camera that wants to get into it and you don't necessarily have like a ton of time to constantly be explaining things to them, this will walk them through most shooting scenarios. Actually, probably darn near all shooting scenarios. Because like I said, it goes through, you've got a mode for people. So you just tap on that. And then you've got different portrait shooting options that you can go through. And there's a little shortcut button up here that just keeps bringing you back to your main menu. It's kind of cool. Great first camera. And it's also a great second camera or additional body for somebody who wants to always have a camera, doesn't want to necessarily carry like that with them everywhere they go. I mean, you got all the power here in this little toy box that you have in this big giant toy box here. So that's why it's been with me every day. Cost for this, for anybody that's just kind of curious, I think it's like $6.99, and it comes as a kit, which is kind of nice as well. So you get the EM10 Mark III, and you don't get that with it. That was the 25. You get the 14 to 42 easy. I have an accessory lens cap on this, so this isn't the cap that comes with it. Sorry. But you do get the 14 to 42 easy. You get the camera. And you get this really nice little bag. So not a bad deal. And they even throw in a 16 gig SD card. So I'd say definitely worth $6.99. I've actually gotten 2 people into the system with this exact kit, and I've heard nothing but like positive comments as far as, well, they haven't had to ask me how to do anything. And one of the people got it because their daughter likes to play indoor sports. And there's settings in there for shooting sports as well, and she's been getting fabulous results with it. So she did buy an extra lens. She's not shooting sports with the 14 to 42 easy, in case anybody's wondering. So that's my like quick little I guess holiday buyer's guide. It's really short, really abbreviated, and it runs the gamut from super cheap, less than $10, all the way to like $700 or thousands, maybe, I don't know, in the case of a workshop. So I guess I'll just kind of stop talking about that, my little holiday ideas here, and I'll answer some of the questions that are popping up in chat. But there's one that didn't pop up in chat that actually showed up in, I think, like the OMD education group. Dean Davis asked if there's going to be a new TG tracker coming out that will maybe compete with the 360 cameras that are sort of all the rage. And actually, I've got one sitting right here. It's been sitting there for a while. I haven't used it much. But anyways, if they were coming out with something, I wouldn't be allowed to say. So I hated to even address the question, but he asked, and I figured I'd answer anyways. And if you notice at the bottom of the screen there, a new icon popped in because I think we're going to have a guest here jumping in. Just kind of like a spur of the moment thing that we just did. I'll just continue answering questions though. So Mike Hodge, sorry, Mike Hedge asked possible topic ideas on how to stay motivated to get out and take photos over the winter months with the cold weather and the short days. I got several ideas for you on that. If you swing over to my YouTube channel, I've got I think I did a video on it. It's a tutorial on how to photograph light bulbs that are burning out. It's a really cool, interesting, fun thing to do, I guess, indoors when it's cold and crappy out. Get really unique photos. And Mike, if you reach out to me after the show, I can give you a direct link to exactly what I'm talking about. But when the weather gets really bad, sometimes in Michigan, the winter months can get really brutal, and I just don't have the motivation to go outside and shoot. I'll start finding things to do inside. So obviously it's going to be things like that light bulb project I was just talking about. I spend a fair amount of time trying to get really good at doing water droplet photography, and you can actually get great water droplet photos without crazy fancy rigs to do it. And there are a ton of tutorials. I personally don't have any tutorials on how to do that, but there are a ton of them out on the internet. So I suggest looking at things like projects like that. You can do them right on the tabletop. The light bulb thing is kind of like a tabletop project. Water droplets are a tabletop project. One of the things that I do like to do though, and it all ties into the winter months and the short days, and that's the fact that the light is so completely different in the winter, at least where I'm at, because the sun never rises super high in the sky. You don't have that as harsh overhead light. So I find that when you get out 3 o'clock or so, 4 o'clock, the sun is really just it never had made it high. It's just skirting the horizon line a bit there. The light is just fabulous. So I get in the car where it's warm and I just drive. I'm really well known amongst all my friends for doing exactly that. I will get in the car and I will drive out into the countryside. Of course, if you're someone who has a rural area to explore, I suggest just taking back roads anywhere. Just keep making turns and getting as far off the beaten path as possible. And of course, if you know my work, I like to shoot barns and old buildings and things like that. So I'm always on the lookout for old farmsteads or old abandoned farmhouses and things like that. And, or just interesting pieces of landscape. I'm looking for big fields with a single tree sitting in them. They might be cliche things to shoot, but those are the things that I chase after. And then once I feel like I'm lost and I have no idea where the heck I'm at, then I'll get my phone out and I'll just turn on the GPS and say, take me home, so I can figure out how to get back out of there from wherever it was that I was at. So that's kind of what I do winter months, or develop a project. So I've been speaking with my buddy, Jerry James, and him and I kind of brainstormed this little project, and I'll tell you guys what we're going to do, because it might be something you guys would like to do. And that is basically what Jerry and I are going to do is we're going to pick out a location in the state of Michigan that's, it can be done in a day. So if we have, we'll say like a 7 or 8 hour day, we'll find a spot that's like 3 hours away, and we'll drive that 3 hours to get to it and shoot it, and then drive the 3 hours to get back. But rather than take a main road, a highway or an interstate highway or anything like that, we're going to take back roads the whole way and try to find little small towns along the way and shoot those. We just kind of got into this thing where we're shooting old buildings, little convenience stores, little mom and pop businesses, shooting them in the darker hours. They just have this certain look to them, and we thought it'd be kind of a fun project to do. So I suggest finding a project. And I'll jump into Jeffrey McFeeters has a couple of questions here. He asks, what is my favorite winter subject to photograph? Man, I'll tell you what, I don't have a favorite winter subject to photograph. It's pretty much just going to be like it is in the summertime, landscapes. But what I do like to do, and I'm not going to say it's a favorite subject, but it's a favorite thing or approach to photography in the winter. And that is, I've got locations that I like to shoot throughout the year. I mean, I hate to keep saying the barn, but that is on the list of places that I go to shoot throughout the year. So what I like to do is I like to revisit places that I've shot in the summer and see how they look in the winter. You know, obviously the light is different. The scenery is completely different when it's devoid of foliage or if it's got a nice fresh coating of snow. So I like to revisit locations that I had fun shooting in the warmer months and just see how they look in the winter months as well. And he also wants to know what to do to keep lenses from fogging up when going to do a winter sunset or sunrise. There's two approaches to this. Okay, number one is you can keep your camera gear like in the trunk of your vehicle. If you have a vehicle that has a trunk, the trunk tends to stay a lot colder than the car. So basically you kind of get that equilibrium where it's acclimatized to the exterior temperature. What I don't suggest doing though is keeping the batteries in the bag when you're doing that. Keep the batteries like in your pant pocket or something, or your jacket pocket. And then when you get on location, throw a battery in the camera. And by that point, you know, your camera and lens is close enough to the exterior ambient temperature to where you're not going to run into fogging up. The other option is the little hand warmers, the little, I don't know what's inside of them, charcoal or some sort of a powder or whatever. You can actually take those, and I've seen people take a scarf. They'll take a few of those hand warmers and position them on the lens and then wrap the scarf around the lens and just keep the lens warm. So there's a couple of different options there. Bob Panic wants to know where Mike is. I think I went over that in the beginning. He's got some family things going on that he's taking care of. Tips for keeping fingers warm when using the touchscreen gear we all love to use. I've got a tip, and I don't have it up here to show you. And it's not really a tip that's going to be easy for everybody. My wife crochets. She loves to crochet. And if you look at some of Tracy McGlasky's newborn photos, you might see some of my wife's handiwork in some of those photos. But my wife has crocheted me a pair of mittens that basically they're open just at the very tips of the fingers. And then I wear a really thin pair of gloves inside of those mittens. And my fingers generally stay warm the entire time. So I don't know how cold it gets where you're at, Jeffrey, but I'll tell you what, Michigan winters can be brutal sometimes. Robert Panic left us. I'm just going right down the list of questions here. So see you, Bob.
Wait, Bob left?
Yeah, he says he left. Big Bang Theory's on. His DVR is broken, and you can't live without Big Bang.
Bob's got a plug from the cable, man.
Yeah, right. Jeffrey McFeeters also says he has one final question. He says, when are we going to shoot together? Brother, I'm working on that one. I'm working on that. Just saying.
Where's Jeff at?
You in Kansas, Jeff, or Nebraska? I don't remember. I'm probably wrong on both fronts. Too many names, not good enough with all the locations. And Brian Bright says, okay, man, you're calling me out on this really quick here. So Brian Bright has questions on if we have any firm plans for Atlanta. And for those of you who have not been following what Mike and I are planning for the upcoming year, I'm not sure how much we divulged of that yet, but if not, cat's out of the bag. So Mike and I, our first big workshop of the year is going to be in Atlanta. I'm just going to say, if you're interested in it, just try to keep open the second weekend in May. And the gist of this, again, I'm just giving you a rough outline. We have all the fine details are written down, and Mike is our logistics guy. So Mike's sitting on all that information. So I'm not going to speak out of turn and give you too much information. Okay, Jeffrey's in Kansas. So anyways, so second weekend in May. It's going to be a multi-day workshop, and it's going to be similar to what Mike and I did here in Michigan for our first workshop together, which we called Small Town to Downtown. And the focus of that was one day of urban shooting and then another day of like more countryside, rural, kind of like Jamie shooting. And that's what we're going to do in Atlanta. We've got some sweet places picked out in the heart of Atlanta. Of course, Mike spends a lot of time down there for business. So we're going to be shooting urban street architecture. We've got a couple of cool places lined up for shooting the night and sunsets. And then we're going to spend a day probably doing, it's going to be a multi-location deal when it comes to the landscape side of things. One of the locations, I'll just say it right now, is going to be Old Car City. For those not familiar with it, just do a quick Google search on Old Car City and you'll see exactly why it is someplace that Mike and I have been dying to shoot. And we've got a couple other places picked out too that I won't, because I don't know the names of the locations. I've just seen the photos of them as Mike and I were looking online together. But let's just think waterfalls. How about that? And I'll just leave it at that. So second weekend of May, probably 2 to 3 day event. So just keep your calendar open. And let's see. Mike Timko says Agawa Bay Campground for a night shoot. I don't know where that is, but I'm game. I'd rather do it when it's warmer and the Milky Way is visible, but hey, you know. So I guess that's it. Those are like all the questions. It was really not a lot of questions going on in here. So I will jump into, I'm going to jump into saying, hey, what's going on, Seth?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
It's hard to get me to stop talking, man. I get on a roll. It's just like everybody just says, all right, I'm backing up. Jamie's kind of shooting off at the mouth.
I'm with your wife, man. You're good at it.
Right. I say she never said I was good at it. She just says I like to talk a lot.
You know, I mean, this is your show. So, fly hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Might steal that. Don't leave that unattended.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't want to wear my hat. My wife always says, "Oh, your hats always smell."
I don't think your hat will fit me though.
It probably wouldn't. I don't know. We'll see.
So what's going on, man? Hope Mike's okay. Mike, hi.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's all right. He's like I said, he's got some stuff he's got to take care of. First it was going to be business, and then believe me, if anybody can tell you, life can get crazy at the drop of a hat. So like I said, he's kind of taking care of some stuff that needs to be taken care of. And I told him, don't sweat the show. I got this. I can run off at the mouth for a while. So, generally what happens here is Mike and I talk about, hey, this is what we've been up to.
We don't have any workshops together though.
No, but we say this is what we've been shooting. Do you have any photos you want to do a photo share, or do you want me to share first and you can cue it up next? Or
yeah, why don't you go first? I think I got some stuff. So
okay. All right. So man, I guess I've got a few photos to share. Let's see here. And some of them, let me do my application window here and pick them out. Hold on here. There we go. And there we are. Okay. So a couple of weekends ago, went to Detroit, and shot sunrise. Did a little meetup with our meetup group. And for those who are not familiar with our meetup group, I'm just plugging everything today. Just go to Meetup and do a search for Mirrorless Adventures. And Mike and I try to put together, little meetups here and there whenever we get the opportunity. Since Mike travels a lot, I'd say no matter where you're at in the country, sign up for Mirrorless Adventures, because there's a decent chance Mike might end up in your state or city at some point in time. And he's, I think in the past, used the Mirrorless Adventures page to help find people in the area that just want to go hang out and shoot. So that's kind of what this was. My buddy and fellow Vanguard Pro, Mark Miller, got a hold of me and said, man, I want to do some sort of a meetup in Detroit. And I said, well, all right, let's put one on the meetup page. So I posted a meetup on the meetup page, and then Mike Baining jumps in and says, hey man, my buddy Lou and I know this perfect spot where we could all meet up. So it turned into like, Mark had an idea, Jamie put it on the page, and Mike found the spot, and bam, there you go. We had, about half a dozen or 9 people or something like that show up pre-dawn, like an hour before sunrise, in a sketchy area to shoot the sunrise, which sadly the sun never rose. So that's kind of what, where this was taken. It was during that meetup. And this is shot with the EM10 Mark III handheld. And this is an ISO 4000. And I know I hate doing like the photo shares because things don't translate well across, you know, a Google Hangout or whatever, but this is a pretty nice looking image for ISO 4000 from the most entry level camera that you can get from Olympus. I'm just going to throw that out there and say,
it's pretty clear on here, dude. So
okay, good. Yeah, it's pretty tight. Like I said, handheld with the 17 millimeter f1.8. So and this was using the entry level dude modes. You know, I had it set on scene modes and picked out the handheld starlight is what they call it, and it's basically made for shooting exactly what I did, a cityscape at night. So
it's solid, man. I like it.
Thank you. Like I said, you know, solid performer, that camera. I'm totally stoked on that. The next one is, and if you, I don't know if you can see the little subtitles I have below my images here, but if you can't, you can see it says HDR, because that's exactly what this is. So periodically what I like to do is, I like to try to do things just a little bit different than normal. Normal for me would be run along exposure, or normal for me might be to, I don't know, bracket 3 shots. But this one, what it was high res mode. And so I had to manually go through my bracketing. So I did a high res mode shot at a 0 exposure value, one at +2, one at -2. But this is also done with the Nisi filters on as well, the medium graduated neutral density filter. And so what this ends up being is 380 megapixel images merged together into one like big mamba jamba. So I
think Jerry would call that a banger.
Yeah, a banger. Definitely. It it put a little banging on the iMac. I mean, actually my computer put it together really well pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
do it anyway.
But it is definitely a big image. So that was pretty much it from that Sunday. So that was 2 Sundays ago. And then this past,
I like that shot, dude.
Thanks. It was cold that morning, so it was appropriate that we.
Hey, it was too early for me.
Yeah, I couldn't hardly get any people to show up for that one. So a week later, I literally went from Detroit pre-sunrise to the west side of the state to Muskegon, where there are a lot of reports of snowy owls in the area. So I had to make a trip over there. I've only been able to shoot snowy owls one time before, and that was in the middle of the state. And they were out in fields, and they were literally probably about 400 or 500 yards out. They were a long ways out. In this location, it's kind of sad to say. I mean, you could actually get ridiculously close to them. I made sure that we did not get close to the owls. There were other people, though, that were they were close. I mean, you know, there were some people that were quite literally walking up to within 5 or 6 feet of one of the owls. And I'm not sure what the story is with that, why that one owl would even tolerate it, but just, you know, want to put that out there that we didn't do that. This is part of a sequence of this owl flying in towards us. And this is shot with the, man, I don't even remember which lens I had on, if it was the 300 or the 40 to 150. I think this was with the 300 millimeter with the teleconverter on it. And this was after we found a technique that worked, because there were a lot of, for lack of a better word, jerks that were out there trying to photograph the owls. We positioned ourselves on the other side of where everybody was at. And then as these people would annoy certain birds, we would just be posted up at the other end, and they would tend to kick the birds up, you know, periodically. And then they would just fly towards us, you know, and once they got towards us, you know, we were shooting them as they were coming in and landing, and we'd get shots while they were sitting there. And then we would leave and drive around and circle back around the other way. You know what I mean? So it was pretty cool to be able to be so close to the owls. I had a lot of questions from people throughout the week asking what kind of settings I used for shooting the owls. And they're really easy settings. On the EM1 Mark II, I had a focus grid of the center 9 focus blocks that were selected. I was in low sequential, so it wasn't in the fastest sequential. You keep it in low, and you can continue to track focus. And so that was what my focus mode was continuous autofocus tracking as well. I was in shutter priority, and I had the shutter priority, or the shutter speed, set to 1/1000th of a second. Now, that's fast. And the reason that I had it set to be so fast is because I wanted to be able to get crisp, clean shots. I've seen a lot of photos where people had just a little bit too slow of a shutter speed, so they weren't getting, you know, really crisp shots out of it. So I was an auto ISO, and like I said, 1/1000th of a second. And we had a lot of sun anyways. So I don't know that my ISO ever jumped up over maybe like 400 through all of these. But like I said, this is a sequence of, it's 3 shots out of a total of probably 9 or 10 as that bird came in for a landing. In the next shot, some of these I haven't shared online yet, so I wanted to make sure I shared a couple that nobody had seen. Most of these other photos everybody's seen. So this is another one, another snowy owl. This, yeah, I don't know.
It looks like he's smiling, man.
Yeah, they're. It was pretty exciting to be able to get shots like this. I don't know how well it shows through the through sharing this way, but the talons on this thing are just monstrous. These birds are big. They are huge birds. Most people think of owls as like those cute little things. No, these guys are big, and they're what you would call an apex predator. They eat meat, and you can tell when you look at their feet. So it's pretty cool to be able to shoot this one. This was with the 40 to 150 though.
Really? That's real close then.
Yeah. So this is at 150 millimeters, and I'm probably, I don't know, I'm going to say 100 feet away. And this is cropped in some too. So this one isn't straight out of the camera. This is a crop in as well.
But still, I mean, that says something in the zoom, and then you still crop too.
Yep. And then the next shot, another one that I haven't shared as well. This is the eye shot. Those are like, I don't know, when you're shooting snowies, you got to get the yellow eyes. And it's funny because behind them, there's a shoveler. It's a type of duck. And that's what these guys have been eating out there. They've been eating ducks.
It'd have been a duck to me, man.
Yeah. I think Jerry James was the same way. He was just like, well, dang, there's a black duck over there. And
that's like, a greenhead duck over there.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's what this one is. That's what that one is, you know.
Bird nerd.
Yep. Bird
it's all
nerd.
right. It's all right. It's all right.
But I'll tell you what, though, understanding what you're looking at, what kind of animal you're shooting, and knowing about them, I think aids in being able to get shots, because you kind of understand a little bit of the habit of what the animal, what their habits are. So this was a cheater shot though. So this was as we were leaving one location and driving. So this is basically a big wastewater facility. There are all these huge retaining ponds that are basically like lakes, and there are dikes that separate all these different ponds from one another. So you're driving along the dikes, and we had shot this bird from a distance, and we decided to drive to the other end of the facility to see if there are owls at the other end, or hawks or eagles, because there's all kinds of birds there. And as we're driving by, I'm literally just leaning out the window, just firing off frames as we drive by. And a lot of the times these guys will be sitting here without their eyes open. They're just sitting there with their eyes closed, just kind of basking in the sun. So as we're driving by, he just opens his eyes and just gives me the old stare down. So this one's straight out of the camera. This is no crop or anything. Again, 40 to 150. And the last shot, I'd been asked by numerous people, do you have any shots of the birds flying towards you? Because that's hard. That's what tests the focus system of any camera. It's easy to track or do continuous autofocus if the animal's running like, parallel to you. But if they're coming straight at you or in like obliquely at an angle, that's harder to track. So I do have one shot that's kind of a crop in of another shot. And this is as he's flying in towards me. And the only reason I don't share any other shots from that sequence is because none of the other shots is he looking at me. So this shot, he was flying. Normally he was looking off, straight ahead in the direction he was going. And one of my frames as I'm shooting, I see yellow, and I'm like, yes, he looked right at me. And that's exactly what happened here. Is she looked straight at me as she flew by. So it was pretty cool to get that eye contact thing going there. And I guess that's like the end of it right there. And this is with the 40 to 150 as well. So I'm standing outside on the edge of the dike, and she's not that far away, man, probably 50 or 60 feet off the dike as she does a flyby. It was like Top Gun, with an owl flying by. It's pretty cool. So that's kind of what I've been up to for the last 2 weeks. I went from shooting bridges in the hood to owls in the countryside or in the sewage plant. I don't even know what you'd even say, but I love variety, man. I mean, that's where it's all at.
Throw in a couple portraits and you'd be straight, man.
Yeah. Don't do people. Not too often. All right. So you remember how to do a photo share?
I like people. Yeah. Those bird pictures are cool, man.
I appreciate that.
I personally am not a bird guy. I mean, I'm generally not found in nature. Concrete and backdrops, man.
Outdoors is nature, man. As long as you're not inside.
Hey, there's a lot of fun to be had inside, sir.
Oh, I know. There's more outside.
You should see my driveway. All right, let's see. Screen share.
Then I choose application window is the best way to do that.
Application window. I'm not actually getting the application window. I got desktop 1, Hangouts.
Should be on this.
I got this. Well, you're going to see double of you for a second. Boom. You see that?
No, you want to do application window.
Thought I had it figured out.
When you do screen share, the little pop-up that pops up says share your screen. You'll see one that says your entire screen, and then right next to that it says application window. And then when you click on application window, it should show you all the applications you have open.
Oh, this thing just wants to fight with me today. I think the last time I showed up on here, I had a different computer completely. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, I'll babble while I'm trying to figure this out. I can kind of multitask. I'm not getting that application thing.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. So I'll talk about the biggest news of the show, and it's something that's going on, Ted. This is something that I wanted to wait and have Mike on the show to do. But man, I suck at like keeping secrets. I'm like the guy who can't, not tell his kids what they're getting, for a gift or something. I'm just bad. Don't tell me your secrets. I could never work for the government as a spy. Let's just say that I'd crack. I'd be like, hey, this is what we have. So anyways, Mike and I, after lengthy consideration and discussing how we we're going to do this and what our plans were and our goals are for Mirrorless Minutes, decided that we want to expand it to what. So when Mirrorless Minutes got started, my original vision for Mirrorless Minutes was a podcast and an accompanying website. And there are some people that very early on were involved in that. I had some people that were signed up that were ready to, write blog posts and things like that. And it never materialized. Some of that was financial, I've got a day job. And it's not like running a website is super expensive, but there's some overhead involved with that. So Mike and I have decided to set up a Patreon account. It seems to be the thing to do if you're a creative and you're looking for some kind of support from the community that you service. So I sat down with Mike and talked about, what goals we would like to meet, like what are some things we could give back to people that want to support the show, and things of that nature. So we kind of hashed it all out and then put together a Patreon page. If you're not familiar with Patreon, just swing over to patreon.com/mirrorless minutes and just have a read and just see what we're doing and see what our goals are, see what we're going to do for people that decide to support us in that fashion. There's some pretty cool stuff we're going to give back, for people who are supporting members of Mirrorless Minutes. We'll always continue to do this. This will always be free. The podcast will always be free. We'll always have, endeavors that we do that don't require you to be like a Patreon subscriber and supporter and all that. But for those who want some next level stuff, it would be great to have your support. So, and it can just be literally like $1 here and there, all the way up to, lots of dollars. Yeah. So we've actually got, I actually set up like an insane Patreon, and I'll just tell you guys what this one is. I'll tell you what the patron member status of like our big giant one is, and this is bonkers. Okay, so don't laugh because it sounds like a crazy lot of money, but if you got some friends to chip in, it could be fun. What if you donated like $4,000? I know that sounds crazy, right? But stop and listen to what you could get out of this. So if you did this one-time donation and you could split it amongst friends, no matter where you live in the continental United States, if you contributed at that level, and again, if you got a group of people in on this to do it, Mike and I would fly to the location of your choice and give you a private custom workshop tailored around what it is you want to shoot, where you want to shoot it. it becomes affordable at that point. If you stop and think about how much workshops cost, how much a good workshop costs, that you're stuck with like 7, 8 other people. Now, how about if you were doing that same kind of a workshop, but with just you and a couple of friends, anywhere in the country that you wanted to do it, tailored just to you? Something to think about. I thought it was different than anything else I had seen, so I thought, why not? I'll just throw that out there. There might be some people that are interested in something like that. If nobody ever clicks on it, that's totally fine. But I thought, hey, it's kind of neat. I just did it anyways.
So anyways, like I said, flying all over the place. So you get a couple fans.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or driving to Jackson.
Right. Yeah. Right. So anyways, you guys, like I said, if you get a minute, just swing over to patreon.com/mirrorless minutes and just check out what we're trying to do over there. And you can see what our goals are for Mirrorless Minutes. And if you want to help, it'd be greatly appreciated. So with that said, I think Seth's got some pictures to share. It looked like you had them up there a second ago.
Yeah, I figured it out. You know what it was? I had my, my full screen thing set on it and it didn't see it.
Okay.
So, all right. So more of a portrait guy. My wife and I do weddings together. Can you see that all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We were talking about high ISO and everything. I've got the EM1 Mark II. I've also got the EM1. I got a bunch of them. But low light. I mean, this turned out great, man. It is a 1.4 lens. Actually, it's a Sigma. I'm a big fan.
Yep.
It's edited. There is noise reduction done to it, but man, the moment, this wedding was a blast to shoot. I looked forward to it all year. Great group of people, and I mean, I love. So,
yep.
That's I don't have the ISO settings or anything like that. It was up there though. I mean, I was well over 2000.
Yep. Very cool.
And it's the 30 millimeter f1.4 from Sigma. It does have a different render than like the Olympus lenses. Good and bad, depends on your taste on that. But I dig it. It's definitely one of my faster lenses I own. All right, so I had to bring this one out. I actually never shared this.
Yeah, no, I've never seen it from you, so cool.
I've been hoarding my photos, man. I need to get a little more social, I guess. But this was actually from our out of Chicago trip during Pride weekend. That's 4150 long exposure. I definitely did that in live composite.
Yeah, that's ferry going by, right?
I think so. Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about lining up perfect, man. I mean, I certainly didn't do that, but definitely adds to it. I parked in that same spot almost that whole night, I think. Oop, wrong way. Here's another one from our wedding. Flash, the whole 9. This was shot with the 75. No, I'm sorry. I shot that actually with the 12-40. It was tight in there. Same, the wedding, the part of the party. I really dig the serious look. I like the portraits without the smiles all the time, and a little more serious. It's not actually showing me my thumbnail, so I actually have to flip to it before I know what I'm looking at. So, this was from the other weekend. We went out. These guys got me out of the house. I had just had a baby a year and a half ago. Well, my wife did. And I'm still trying to figure this dad thing out. So I don't get out like I like to, but this was great. Hanging out with friends. I love this kind of stuff because I go more for the social. It's fun to shoot, and I've got plenty of pictures of our friends also that I still owe you guys. I've got some fun ones. Man, see, I keep going the wrong damn way. Here's another one from our wedding. Jamie, I'm going to do a little plug on your presets. This is actually
I love the tone on that one, and that's one of my presets.
It's out of your Summer Love.
Yeah, nice.
I know it's probably meant for landscape.
No, actually, I did a lot of those renders on people. So.
Oh, did you? Okay, because I saw it and the skin tones were awesome, and I was So yeah, there you go, a little plug. I'll look for some dividends later or something. But I did get the preset. So just like I told you, man, these guys, they loved each other so much, and it was so awesome to see that. And you could tell just how they look at each other, like how they joke around. It was a blast. I get to finally share this. I found out I recently did a book cover, and it's not that, for my buddy Steampunk Eddie. He's coming out with a book, and he asked me to shoot it, and ta-da!
All right, so a little bit of background on that for people who don't know. So this guy, Steampunk Eddie, he was on a reality like game show. I don't know if you call it a reality TV show. It's like a reality game competition. Show. Yeah, it was a steampunk competition. So if you watch like Chopped or Iron Chef or anything like that, where it's like this competition to test your skills at a certain thing. This is artists creating steampunk things, and he was on that show, and he won that, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. So he won this
$100,000.
Crazy talented artist. Seen a lot of his work on display in Jackson, Michigan here. Very cool stuff. So it's cool that you get to do portrait work for him. And I know you've documented, I think, a lot of his artwork too, haven't you?
Yeah. I do a lot of work with him.
Very cool. Yeah, it's awesome stuff, man. So you're gonna get a mention like in the book cover somewhere.
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right, good deal.
Fresh book, man.
Be published. Now, okay, so let me make a suggestion.
Sure.
Just a suggestion. So I have a book cover too. One of my photos was made into a book cover, and it's right here as a tattoo. I suggest, yeah, okay. I was going to suggest do not get Eddie's face tattooed on you. I mean, he might think it's awesome.
Oh, he'd think it's great. He'd probably offer to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. The general public or your wife might, not be quite the same. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm going to send him this link after this is all done. He's going to be like, you should get a tattoo of me.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this. I don't want to hear where he wants you to get the tattoo. I don't even know if you've got space there or not. I'm just throwing this stuff out.
Have you met him?
Yeah, I've met Eddie a couple times.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'd pick a spot that we couldn't show on TV.
No, yeah.
Definitely. I do have one more. It's officially mirrorless. And I went backwards again. But
yeah, it's mirrorless. I know what you're doing.
It's
there.
Mirrorless. This is out of my Phantom. Thank you, Mike. That was a great deal.
Mavic. Yeah,
Mavic Pro. It is a 8 photo stitch.
Okay, so I got a question for you regarding that. Does that do the panel like in the app, or did you merge those yourself like in post?
In post. I did this stuff in post.
Okay, cool.
So the only thing I changed in my settings on that is where you can bring the gimbal up 30 degrees.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you push it too far, you'll see the props. But
right.
What I ended up doing is I got it up in the air. I shot a couple across the bottom, tilted that gimbal up, shot the rest of them. So I shot left to right and then up and then right to left.
Very cool. Is that the moon in the upper left?
Yes, sir. That's the moon in the upper left. So this is going to be actually, I'm working on some new stuff for print to sell. This is going to go on metal. It's probably going to be 3 different panels. So this thing's going to be big.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there, I'll throw this out there as another Christmas gift idea. Prints, runoff prints for friends and family, or if you know somebody who likes to shoot, get them a gift certificate to like Impics or Bay Photo or someplace like that.
Or buy mine.
Yeah, or buy Seth's. Damn, that's what we call a shameless plug. I like that.
No shame, man. Shame on that.
That's not subliminal marketing, folks. That's Seth just saying, hey, come buy my stuff. So so I guess so we actually, dude, we've run this show for almost an hour. This is like the longest Mirrorless Minutes ever.
Yes.
Maybe close to it. But so I guess we'll end the show. I just want to thank Seth for taking the time to drop in and chat and share his work with us and share his potential prints for sale. Swing over to your website's name is what? Your website? Plug it.
It's dimestreimagery.com.
Dimestra. Spell Dimestra for people.
Yeah, where's my little bottom guy?
Don't even waste the time trying to add it.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut you off.
www.dimestra imagery.com.
Like driving under the influence, imstra.com.
Imstra.
Yeah. DUI.
Just throw it in the show notes at the end, and that'd be the best way to go about it. Yeah, check it out. I do have prints. More stuff's coming. So
very cool, very cool. And before I close it out, just one more time, I'm gonna throw it out there. You're gonna get sick of hearing it. Hopefully, you don't get sick of hearing it because we're gonna plug it religiously for quite a while. We're doing Patreon, folks. We want to do some more things for you guys that we're not able to do right now. So if you get a chance, swing over to patreon.com/mirrorless minutes and just look at what Mike and I are trying to get accomplished and throw us a couple bucks, skip that coffee once a month, something like that. And if you don't want to, hey, I'm not holding your feet to the fire over this thing. We're going to keep doing
$4,000.
Yeah. Or the big one. We're going to keep doing this show for free no matter what. So thanks for your support over all these last several years, 3 years. Holy cow. Can't believe we've been doing this for this long. And until 2 weeks from now, you guys take care and see you out shooting maybe. See you, Seth.
Later.